Welcome to Out of the Box with Christine, the podcast for conscious entrepreneurs. Are you willing to step into your greatness? Are you ready to shine? Well, get ready, Truth Seeker. You're in for an amazing ride. And now, here's the host of the show, Christine Blosdale.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your host, Christine Blosdale. And you, my friends, you are in for a treat. I am so happy to have back on the show. And it's been, well, Susan was one of my very first guests when I first started this podcast show. And I'm so happy to have her back. My guest, of course, is Susan Miller, who is an internationally known author, columnist, entrepreneur, publisher, and really truly a pioneer of the internet. She is the most respected founder of astrologyzone.com. She is an authority in the field of course, Western astrology. It is read avidly by over 11 million unique readers a year. She is recognized worldwide for her astrological writings outside the box, which is so great because that's what the show is called, into areas of business, technology, lifestyle, culture, and of course, the economy. And I am just so grateful to have you here, Susan Miller. Welcome to Out of the Box.
Oh, I'm thrilled that you asked me on. Oh my goodness, this is a big show.
Well, like I said, you are somewhat of a shiro to me because in the world of publishing and especially with astrology, and I do have a love for astrology. I told you just before this that I have 5 planets in Scorpio. And usually when I say that, people run.
No, it's a good thing.
Yes.
You can never lie to a Scorpio. Never. They see right through it. And also they're known for digging. It's the Woodward and Bernstein, the investigative reporter sign of the zodiac.
I'm your Sherlock Holmes, babe.
Yes.
I will find the root of that. I love going on a mission. I do. I love it. So
and you don't let go. You don't let go. It's like a dog looking for that bone. They're not going to stop until they get it.
You know what? Can you write my next resume? No. Okay.
We'll make it very different and memorable.
Well, and you have this incredible book called The Year Ahead, 2022, The Grand Mutation of Saturn Conjunct Jupiter, which for our audience, these things may sound a little like what is that? What is a mutation? What is a conjunct? What is it? But the year 2022 has been interesting, and we still have, we have a quarter of it to go. Why don't you share with our wonderful listeners and our viewers that are on YouTube, but just some of the aspects of 2022, the highlights of this year, of course, but also what's to come, Susan. Are we going to be here in a couple of months?
Yes, but the Grand Conjunction really colored our lives from the minute it happened. Now, let me explain this. Jupiter and Saturn are right in the middle of the solar system, like Goldilocks. It's right in the middle, not too far out like Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, not too close to Earth like Venus, Mercury, and Mars. And they have a very powerful effect on us, especially in terms of the themes we see played out in our lives. Now, these two are old friends. Jupiter and Saturn only meet once every 20 years. I know they're busy. They don't have time, but they love meeting each other. And when they meet, the sign they meet in and the element, air, fire, earth, or water, matters. Now, this is the most staggering part because in astrology, we're studying math and recurring cycles. That's really what astrology is, the recurrence of cycles over and over. Some that never repeat in your lifetime, some that repeat often. Well, Jupiter and Saturn, over the past 200 years, have always met in an Earth sign. There was one aberration in 1980, and I'll get to that. But Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, 200 years. Now, what did we accomplish as humans in society? Well, we built cathedrals and skyscrapers, roads, bridges, tunnels. We laid down railroad tracks. But the most important part is we had the Industrial Revolution and the assembly line. When I think back 200 years, and I live here in New York, I look out my window on the 29th floor. I think New York must have been like a forest. There was a swamp by Times Square, and the water supply was where the public library is, that beautiful big building that takes up almost a whole block. And when they got their water from somewhere else, they said, what are we going to do with this land? Oh, we should build a really nice library. And that's what they did with the two lions. And everybody knows it when they come to New York. Well, when you wanted cereal, let's say, you had to go to the general store. And the manager probably said, I hope the ship came in with the barrel of oatmeal. Oh, yes, here it is. And he would scoop out the oatmeal and put it in a little bag for you. There were no supermarkets. It's really hard for us to imagine that. When you wanted to buy a dress, you would pick out the fabric and go home and make it. Or the men would pick out the fabric and maybe go to a tailor. Women went to tailors too. But it was a very different life. And Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, they never stepped on each other's toes. They never changed the order. It was very regular. Well, we had a consumeristic society because the assembly line allowed that. But now, on December 21st, 2020, a couple of years ago, they met in Aquarius. They met in air. And they're never meeting in Earth again, never, not in our lifetime, not for like 800 years. So we are walking across the rickety bridge from one era to another. Now, remember I said that there was an aberration in 1980. In 1980, they met in Libra, and astrologers knew that was just a little preview, a little burst. Whenever the universe does something big, it gives us a little chance to dip our toe in the ocean and get used to it. And then it went back to Taurus in 2020, 20 years later. So what I thought about this, and I kept thinking about it, why does the universe do this? And then I realized babies born in 1980 are 42 now. And the year they met in 1980, they were 40. Well, by the time you're 40 or 42, you may have bought a house, you may have gotten married, you may have had a baby, you may have started a business. The point is, you did something very grown up because you were learning about yourself. And by the time you're 40, you've learned about life and you've learned about yourself. And you're grown up. I feel that those babies born in 1980, plus or minus 5 years, 1975 to 1985, have this in their DNA. They're familiar with Jupiter and Saturn meeting in an earth sign of Libra. They're going to take us by the hand and bring us across that rickety bridge and assure us it's going to be fine. Because they know it in a way that the rest of us don't. They are going to be the leaders, bringing us into this Aquarian digital age. And it's a very exciting age we're going into. And we can't even imagine the changes, just like we couldn't have imagined the iPhone and the changes that was to bring, and the way we would listen to music and the way we would work on our computers. You know, the pandemic came the same year. And the pandemic didn't change the world. The Grand Conjunction did. But it speeded us into the digital world. We got used to Zoom. We didn't even know Zoom, right? Did you know Zoom? Before this, I didn't know about it. And we knew that we would wear different clothes, we would eat different food, our whole routines would change. And I believe that we will not go back to work the way we used to.
But what I found is that, and this is what the beauty of, I guess, what happened is that with that self-isolation, and most of my clients are women. 99% of my clients are women. I found that women that were in their 40s, 50s, 60s, I have 70-year-old clients as well, that they were at a point where they're like, you know what? I want to share my wisdom, my wit, my expertise with the world. And I want to develop a podcast, or I want to have a YouTube channel. I want to share my story. I want to leave a legacy. And
Right.
and it was like this burst of creativity and expression.
And I think it's a good thing sometimes when we're nudged by the universe, like have a hand on our back saying, okay, it's time to move forward. You know what happened with me? My daughter gave me a gift certificate to one of those meal kits. They come in a box and they've measured out everything. I became such a serious home cook. And, I'm writing all the time. And I thought, oh, well, will I have enough time? Well, they've got this down to a science. The prep only takes about a half an hour. I was making duck à l'orange and like tilapia and beautiful salmon with glazes. And I have become so enthusiastic about cooking that it's one of the wonderful things. And I was doing a lot of writing and a lot of product introductions, but this personal part, the chopping and the cutting and the stirring, it's very calming. I love it. I just love it. And I live alone. And they always give you enough for two, but I'd have enough for the next day for lunch, and I just heat it up. No, but it was really fun because my daughter said, Mommy, you always used to cook and you love to cook. And I used to make souffles and everything when they were little, and you stopped cooking and I want to get you started again. So I'm giving you this gift certificate for 2 weeks, see how you like it. And it just totally changed my life. And it had a different effect. I know you and I both have lost our mothers, and that's such a huge thing in your life. It has a greater impact than you think it's going to have. Yes. And after my mother died in 2012, I stopped having flowers in the house, and I always had flowers in every room because there's a little shop across the street that sells beautiful flowers at such a good price. So I'd bring lots home and have them in every room. After she died, no flowers. And Diana noticed that, my daughter. After I started cooking, the flowers came back. And I kept cooking a lot more. I cook every night now. As a matter of fact, I find my cooking is so much better than the takeout. I'm like, there's too much salt in that and too much grease in that. I can taste it. So it had a really good effect, and the flowers came back.
Well, you're putting your own energy into preparation of your food too, and that's why I always say too, like when people are especially making meals, don't be thinking about how your ex did you wrong, don't put that energy in your food. Think about be grateful for the food that you have and how delicious it's going to be. But for me, it's therapeutic because I don't have to think as hard, writing, publishing.
Well, it's like putting a puzzle together.
Yes. Yeah. And just allowing it to come to fruition.
Yeah. And most of the time I have no idea where the recipe is going to take me. Yeah. I always follow the recipe the first time. And then if I want to make changes, I do it the second time. I put my own little thoughts into it. But that had a good effect. On Twitter, I love Twitter. I like Twitter.
Are you a Twitter?
Very much.
Are you a Twitterer?
Yes. I have almost 500,000 followers on Twitter.
Oh
it's
God.
My favorite. I know a lot of people like Instagram, but I like Twitter because it's more about ideas rather than things you look at,
Yes.
And that's funny because I came out of the photo field. I used to be an agent for commercial photographers for 16 years before I started my website. Actually, I started my website after 10 years as an agent, and I did both for 6 years. So they overlapped. I worked at night and day.
And you created your website too really early on.
Yeah, 1995, December 14th.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be 27 years this December. Oh my God, where did that, what? It feels like I started it 4 years ago. I mean, I can't believe it's that long. But it has brought me into new realms and meet so many interesting people. And I just started on Discord, which is another social platform that was actually created a few years ago by the gamers. Now, it is put together by engineers, so it's not as intuitive as Twitter or Instagram, but the fun of it is learning. And I've been watching YouTube instructional videos on Discord, and then friends come to you. The minute you're in it, you're in a new subgroup. And people say, "Oh, Susie, you're on Discord. How cool! I'll help you. What questions do you have?" I said, "Lots of them," and it's just fun, and you meet a whole different set of people. Discord tries to and successfully do what the other platforms don't. The big problem with the other platforms is the trolls.
Yeah.
And when you're on Discord, you have your own server, your own community. And that's the beauty of it. You can have their rules, which are very nice rules, and you can add a couple of rules of your own. And they ask you to verify yourself that you're not a bot when you come in the very first time. And it's an easy thing to do. And it's just the kindness and the sweetness from the community is something I'm not used to. I'm used to people being...
Yeah.
Yeah. When I write Astrology Zone, I'm writing with the intent for excellence, for thoroughness and comprehensiveness, but also accuracy. And I have to do a lot of math. And my mother taught me astrology. I had been born with a birth defect. I spent years in the hospital as a child. Finally, when I was 14, they figured out this mysterious illness I had, which I all malformed in the left leg with veins and arteries, and I bleed internally. And I was in the hospital 11 months, and then I had to be in grueling physical therapy for 2.5 years because they had tourniqueted me so tightly to save the leg that I had a drop foot. But I was 14, and they felt they could regenerate that nerve, which they did. But at the time, 6 hours a day in physical therapy for 2.5 years, I was wondering, is this going to have a happy ending? So I wanted to know astrology, and my mother wouldn't teach me. Now, I still prayed to St. Jude. I'm a very devout Catholic. All my saints were working for me. But I was 14. I wanted to know, would I wear heels again? Would I wear pretty dresses? Or would I always have a big, ugly brace and 2 crutches, which I had for a long time? And so my mother finally gave in and taught me, but said, you must study with me 12 years or you won't be any good. And you will not read anyone's chart without me in the room, and it will only be family. Well, luckily, my mother's side is German, but they were upstate. But my father's side, my grandmother and my aunts were upstairs. We all lived in the same building in a walk-up. And there was always someone there. I had 6 aunts and uncles besides my father. There were 7 children. And people would always say, one of them would say, oh, sure, do me. I have a question. And my mother would come upstairs with me. So she was right, and she said, I'm afraid you're going to read for your friends. But I said, I don't have any friends. I'm not in school. And it's okay. I was a kid who was happy with my crafts. I always liked to make things or read, or I love to sew. And when I could finally stand, I loved to cook. I like to make things. So she was right. No, I'm very transparent. And you can even disagree with me. That's what I like about social media. You could say, oh, you listed many possible outcomes. Well, here's one you forgot about. This is what happened to me. And that makes me better when people do that, when they write to me and say, there was another.
That's because you don't have that ego that is,
No.
and you're open to, you don't, you're open to say too, like, I don't know everything. I don't
Oh no,
speak
I don't.
Portuguese too, and
That's why I
Japanese.
love astrology. I just
Yes.
keep learning,
And
Yeah.
you have that thirst, that thirst for knowledge as well, which I find, like I find so refreshing. Okay, so based on this, and we're going into so that song by the Fifth Dimension, the Age of Aquarius, we're there, we're in there, we're getting there, right?
Oh yeah, see, there's disagreement. As usual. You put any group together, nobody's going to agree.
Yeah.
I feel we're in it now, the age of Aquarius. Other people say, oh, it's 100 or 200 years away. I mean, I say, look out your window. We're going to have flying taxi cabs and driverless cars. And how much more evidence do you need? Doctors are using robots to operate on you, to
Yeah.
be even more precise. I mean, we're in the infancy of it, but we're in it.
We're in the
And it's
infancy.
only going to
Yes.
flower much more. But there is a little downside. Aquarius is a cool sign. They have many friends, but they like to keep only the closest ones close and the others at a distance. And there's that distance side of people feeling a little isolated. After a while, when I do so many Zooms, I feel like I've made everybody up in my head, like they're my imaginary playmates, I miss being out and about, but we will be. We have to watch the variants. I'm really careful about COVID. I get all the shots. I do everything they tell us. I love Dr. Fauci, and I'm careful. And a lot of people are, especially here in New York, because we're so crowded. Manhattan is 13 miles long and 2 miles wide. It's tiny.
It's a very
So we build straight up.
densely populated. Well, and that's why it made sense that it happened there the way it did, because we're talking
Yeah, it was so tough in
millions
the
and millions and
beginning.
millions
Yeah.
of people in and here I am in Australia. I think, well, I think there's more people in Southern California, let's say, like a densely populated city, more people in Southern
Yeah.
California than the entire country of Australia. So that gives you an idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, but your countrymen travel. I love the Australians. They are so seeking of knowledge, curious, and they travel. And they all say, "But we have to. We're on an island." I said, "No, you could just stay home. You don't have to, but you do." And as a nation, you impress me so much, because that curiosity and that willingness to save up and take those trips makes for a very, very inspiring population. Yeah.
And
they're all at the astrological conventions. I miss those so much, where we'd all go to Chicago or we'd all go somewhere. And there's one in Denver in September, but it's at the end of the month. And that's when I post Astrology Zone. If they had made it in the beginning of the month, I would have gone. But the end of the month, it's just too hard for me. So, I have advertisers, I have editors. I have one editor-in-chief and 4 senior editors that report to him. I mean, it's a sweaty
and you were right. And I remember from, I think the last time that I had spoken to you too, like you don't just do like a sentence or two. And especially when it's based on because you break down all of the astrological signs and say, something for that. But you don't just do this little, throw out a little nugget here and there. These are comprehensive, really.
Well, you know what?
A lot of writing.
You know what I'm imagining? Like when I write something, I imagine the reader saying, "So what? Why should I listen to you?" With that little shoulder. So what? And I feel like I have to be like a lawyer almost to explain why I've come to that conclusion, and that I have to show you what I'm seeing, but I have to do it in a warm and hopefully at times poetic way. So it takes me 7 hours to write each sign. So from the 20th of the month on, no one can call me. I can't go anywhere. I can't have lunch with anybody. So I'm really concentrating, and but it feels good. I'm addicted to the feeling of having worked really hard and done well. I just came out with something new.
Yes.
It's called Moonlight. Moonlight
Please
phases.
share.
Not just moonlight, but moonlight phases. And you say, what? What's that? I always wanted to introduce this concept to the world, to lay people. But I thought, wow, they're going to be a little like, what's that? It tells you when the moon is void of course. Now, leave it to astrologers to give everything a name that sounds like a disease or something. So what is the moon void of course? When the moon is the fastest moving body in our solar system. She's not a planet. She's a satellite. And she goes through all the signs in 28 days. She's a fast little runner. And she wears her white gown and her white gloves. And she meets each of the planets every month. Now, sometimes it's a conjunction. Sometimes it's an opposition. Sometimes it's a square or different aspects. But even if she's in conflict with another planet, it's better than if she's not talking to anybody. Because in astrology, just like life, a person sitting in a room by themselves, nothing much happens. But once you pick up the phone and you've got two people or you're meeting another person, things start cooking. Now, when she's met all of them, she goes to her boudoir and she takes off her gown, puts on a little nightgown, and she sleeps. During that sleep stage, she has met all the planets and there's nothing else for her to do. The moon is void of course. And that's a terrible time to sign a contract, close on a house, get married, have that big job interview, or even the first date. You say, well, when does that happen? Well, it happens at different times, all the time. It could happen for a few minutes. Usually it's for a few hours. Sometimes it's when you're sleeping. Sometimes it's at the worst time from like 10 to 3, just when you're trying to meet people and make deals and move forward. I put GPS in this. It took 3 years for me to develop this. And I went to my artist and I said, I need a moon. And he gave me something like NASA. I said, no, Isaac, no. She's got to have a little rosebud mouth. She has to have little eyelashes. She has to be a sweet, friendly little moon. He said, oh, Suzanne, I get it. He's French. And we worked together until she was just as sweet as I wanted her to be. And then I had to go to my engineers and get little stars twinkling around her, get different colors. I love Moonlight Phases. It's on Apple and Google. It costs $7.99 US, $8. But you never have to buy it again because it goes to the year 2050. So you have it. And if you go to Paris, you go to New York, you go to Sydney, wherever you are, it will follow you and give you the correct time. And I've tested it 6 ways to Sunday. It's correct. It just came out in June.
So from what you see or have deducted, as you're like a Sherlock Holmes as well, coming into going out of 2022 and going into 2023, we have still more things that we need to adapt our lives to, but there are some good things. There are some good. Please tell me there's some good things.
Yeah, such good things. Jupiter's in Aries. This is why you're seeing your clients starting businesses at any age. I just heard on the news this morning, there's a lady, 92, who runs marathons. She's 92 and she finishes them. And she wants to show other people that age is just a number. Look at Nancy Pelosi. She's 79 or something like that. Sharp as a whip. Age is not what we thought of when we were little. We can still contribute so much right up until the day we die. And I actually feel the more relevant you are to society, the longer you live. This is my own little theory, that you have to keep growing. You have to keep asking. You have to keep learning. No, I love what's coming. Jupiter in Aries is now, and it's going right through the middle of May of next year, with a slight little hiatus where Jupiter goes into Pisces and helps the arts and charities right around Christmas, which is really nice. November and December, wonderful time. And it should be a very loving holiday and a very giving holiday where people think about each other and say thank you to each other. And then it goes into Taurus, where there'll be, that'll happen in mid-May, and it will stay a full calendar year until next mid-May. And that's going to have some breakthroughs in food and the way we grow food, the way we take care of nutrition in our lives. And because, there's the bull that helps the farmer seed the land. Taurus is very tied to agriculture.
Taurus is very earthbound. My wife is a Taurus, so I know.
Oh, lovely. And they're very sensuous.
I know.
They, oh my gosh. My daughter is Aries born 4 hours before Taurus. And you go into the kitchen, there's flowers next to the faucet. There's flowers in the bathroom. There's flowers on the coffee table. And there's a candle burning. And it's just lovely. And she likes very soft sheets. I like crisp sheets or kale sheets, but she likes them super soft. And she, even when she was little, when she was 5 years old, she would put her hands up to me and say, "Mommy, I'm having a perfume emergency." I said, "Aha, we have to go shopping." Yes. And she would smell them. And of course, she fell in love with Chanel, the Allure one. And she still likes it. It's so funny. But no, and they're great to have dinner with because they can taste different spices. They have very acute senses.
Yes.
And they are tied to the toddler age, whereas Aries is the little baby, the life force. It doesn't say to itself, "Should I wake mommy up for my milk?" No, they have to. They're the life force. That's their job. They have to cry for the milk so that they can live. But by the time you get to Taurus, they don't have words yet. That comes in Gemini. So they put everything in their mouth, or they throw it on the floor to see if it makes a sound, or they're touching it. All the little children's books have texture so they can, experience different textures. They're very, very good with all the senses. Music. You go to a movie with a Taurus, they'll say the music in the background was really beautiful. And I might say, "What music? What are you talking about?" "Oh, didn't you notice it?" They notice it.
What I love is that my wife goes, "Why did they go into that room?" And I'm like, "I don't know, babe. I'm watching the movie with you. Let's watch the movie and find out." I don't know. She's very curious with those things. Yeah. And you said something too about because with Gemini and then beginning to talk. I find that Geminis are actually very good communicators. Is that a horrible word?
Yes.
Wording, but very great with writing.
Words.
They can talk, and they've got a good but they also, I've some Geminis too. It's like you catch them on a good day or you catch them on a bad day.
No, they're not that. I have Gemini rising, so no, I'm pretty consistent, but I have the moon in Virgo, so that keeps me anchored,
Yeah.
But you wanted to know about the rest of the year. Something's happening. We're in August, and then comes September. All the way through September, we have Mercury retrograde.
Oh,
it
come
starts
on. No.
Yeah, but I think
Susan.
I think God made Mercury retrograde so we wouldn't just keep moving ahead, that we would go back and polish up what we've already done.
Well, you need to have a conversation with God, Susan. You need to talk to God and go,
I talk to him all the time.
We need to change this. We need to change this Mercury retrograde, and you need to make the avocado seed a little bit smaller.
Like if you're in sales, for example, 80% of your business probably comes from 20% of your list. And you should not forget about those people. You should take them to lunch. You should say thank you. You should reconnect with them. Or even some of the people who used to work with you, but you haven't heard from them, go back to them. This is why we have Mercury retrograde, to finish things up, to polish them, to make it better. I think of all the signs, Virgo likes Mercury retrograde the best because they have this perfectionist, kind of outlook. Although Scorpio has it too. My mother once said to me, Virgo gets all the credit for being a perfectionist, but Scorpio is Alexa Hente. And she was talking about my father because he was Scorpio and my grandmother was Scorpio. I have a whole line of families of Scorpio. And she said, they are Alexa Hente, just like Virgo. And they need more credit. She said, when you write those books, give them credit. Okay. But what we have is Mercury will be retrograde in September. Then we have a really sweet spot at the beginning of October. That's when you have to launch products. I have been launching all year, almost like a choo-choo train, to try to outrun what's coming at the end of October. Mars will retrograde, and it will stay retrograde from October 30th. Let's think Halloween, even though it's the next day. It's easy to remember. It goes past Christmas into January 12th. It's never good to introduce a new product with Mars retrograde. Mars teaches you how to compete. Now, the birth of your initiation, the day you pick to put it on the market or to show the client or get married or do anything new, you want to have it the best it could be. And you don't want to mix Mars retrograde into the cake batter. Now, can you succeed when Mars is retrograde and he's asleep in the other room? Yes. But because Mars doesn't retrograde that often, we get used to having him behind us, helping us. And when he's missing, like, why is this project taking so much time and money? And why can't my clients make up their mind? Nobody's signing the work order. Nobody's giving me the purchase order. And I call them, they're like, I'm still thinking. And also, I have a theory about this. I think supply chain problems are going to skyrocket. So if you need to get anything to do your work, like I always need computers. I have 5 laptops. I can't be without a computer. And, if my assistant comes over, she's got one. My bookkeeper, she's got a different one. Or she's got the desktop that doesn't leave the house. But, I need that. I went into Apple last year when we were having tremendous problems with supply chain in November. And I said, I need this, this, and this. I had 5 items. They didn't have one of them. I said, what's happening? I bet the chip is on a slow boat from China. They said, exactly. And I had to wait 4 months for those products. So I'm saying, get your name in now. Get on the list. Be higher up on the list. Because supply chain is coming back. The problems that we had last year is going to be worse this year with Mars retrograde.
And
also,
you're saying if you're going to be launching a new product or service or something,
you've got to do it in early October.
Okay, the first 2 weeks. Got it.
I love the full moon on October 8th, 9th. That weekend is glorious. Now, all full moons have an extra 5 days after them until they're fully waned, so they're powerful. But that beginning of October is glorious. Everything is perfect. I'm writing October right now for the summaries, and so I'm really looking at them. But then if you can't do it, then you've got to wait until the new moon in January 21st. So that's a long way to wait. But you can... the holidays come in between, people go on vacation, and they're going to go on vacation in September this year with Mercury retrograde. There are going to be little speed bumps that we have to get used to, but we're all in the same boat. You won't lose any competitive advantage because we all have
everybody's going to be.
it's okay. It'll work its way out. It's okay.
Yeah, but if you prepare, if you kind of
Nothing's
prepare,
the end.
yeah, you don't go you don't go like in early October going, oh, you know what? I'll wait till next month to launch my major
Yeah.
business thing.
So many people think. One woman once said to me at a TV station, she was one of the producers, well, what does it matter if I get married with Mercury retrograde?
Oh,
The napkins will be pink instead of blue. Or I said, no, no, no. You're building that into the DNA of the term of your marriage. And the communication won't be as good. Now, I'll say something a little controversial here. A lot of astrologers, and I tend to agree with them, don't like you to go on a first date with Mars retrograde, October 30th to January 12th. It's okay to see someone you have been seeing, or maybe someone from the past that you'd like to reconnect with. But a first date, no, because Mars rules sex. And the sex of that relationship isn't going to be as vibrant as if you met during a good time. So, I'm trying to keep couples together. I'm doing the best I can.
I love it. I love it because the beautiful thing about you, Susan, is that you're like you can apply everything. I mean, everything that you've learned, you can apply it to so many different aspects. You can apply it to someone's, the relationships they have, their business. I really love the business aspect of it.
I have to look at all things: their health, where they live. There's something going. Oh, and also because Mars usually stays in a sign 6 weeks. Okay. And it's like having 20 cups of coffee when Mars is in that part of your life. If he's in the house at home, you are really getting motivated. You're going to paint the apartment. You're going to bring in some new furniture. You're going to have the window washers and, you're going to do it all. You may even get a contractor to redo your kitchen. But this time Mars is not staying 6 weeks. He's staying 7 months. And he's going to stay in Gemini 7 months. So whatever you begin noticing happening at the end of August, where is your focus? Start to pay attention. What's going on at the end of August, in September? Mars is there. Now he's starting to slow down. Well, let me show you what I see mathematically, and you'll get why you shouldn't do things when Mars is retrograde. When Mars is healthy, like he is right now, it takes him 2 days to go 1 degree. Okay? 2 days to go 1 degree. In October, already by the 15th or so, it's starting to take him 18 days to go 1 degree.
Ooh.
Talk about walking through glue. Now, he does speed up in November, in the middle of his retrograde, around our Thanksgiving and third week in November. He goes back to 4 days to go 1 degree, but that's still twice as slow as his usual time. So, because 2 days to go 1 degree is healthy. We're going to be walking through glue. See, I have another thought here. Let's say you're in sales and you're frustrated, the client's not calling you back, or you're running a company and you really need to move forward. I think budgets are going to run out in early November because we have inflation. Everything's costing more. The budget was made last year at this time for this year. There's no more cookies in the jar. Everything, there's only little crumbs. Nothing's left. So the people who you're trying to reach are trying to get to January, where the new budget will kick in. And by January 12th, they're willing to listen to you and start cutting the cards. I say wait until the 21st, because no planet pops out of bed like bread out of a toaster the minute it goes direct. Like people, Mars needs a little coffee. He's like walking into furniture. I'm like, little Mars, the world is waiting for you. Couldn't we speed this? I'm tired. Okay, I'll make you a pot of coffee. Would you like me to make you lunch? Yes. Okay, I'll keep you company. Would you like a tuna fish sandwich? Yes. Okay, I'll make it for you. We'll sit down together. I'm still a little sleepy. Okay, it's going to take a little time. I understand. That's what's happening. Oh, I always see the planets as my little friends.
I love it. I love it. Between the moon with the beautiful little lips,
or her
little
dress, her white gloves up to here.
Yes.
She looks like Miss America. She's got her hair just
then
perfect.
it brings it more relatable too. You can relate easier to it, because it's true when we hear certain things, like, well, when I hear like Mars, I think war.
Oh, but he's so good. Now he can stir the pot.
Yes.
He can. Like Aries will have this in the third house of travel, but it also rules sisters and brothers. So they may have a little conflict because Mars brings so much energy that sometimes it causes strife. But if you know that, I've been saying once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't get it back in. Just don't say anything hurtful. If you have a disagreement, say, let me think about what you said.
Yeah.
And I'll respond in 2 days. Okay, let me just think. And that's respecting the other person, listening to them and saying, okay, I have to think about that. And then I'll tell you what I think in 2 days. Taurus is going to have it in the house of money. So Taurus is going to be spending a lot. But if you're a Taurus, like, oh no, I don't want to. Taurus is the only sign that will spend a Friday night pouring a glass of wine and opening their bank statement and admiring how well they've done. That was such a good investment. And look how well I'm saving. And they don't like to hear that they're going to be spending, but it could be they're going back to college. It could be they're getting married or having a baby or buying a house. When you have a lifestyle change, you spend. And they may have prepared for it. So don't be worried if you're a Taurus. Don't worry. And if you have no idea what it is, then just don't buy that refrigerator right now. Maybe just hold off a couple of months just to see how it's going to play out. Gemini is going to be the little jackrabbit. The spotlight is on Gemini. They are going to be the leaders of the parade. They are going to be initiating things. They're going to be communicating a lot. They'll probably be meeting the press and being in the public eye. And they'll be able to achieve things that they hadn't been able to before. And the sweetest spot for everyone is from the end of January to the end of March. That's when Mars is healthy again in Gemini, in the house that I'm talking about. Now, Cancer is going to be doing a lot of strategy. You have this picture of the general in the tent. He's got the map. He's with his cabinet and he's moving the soldiers on the map. The soldiers probably don't even know what he looks like. They don't have little television sets, wherever they are on the battlefield, but he's doing the strategy. So Cancer is going to take a low-key approach, but they're planning something important, whether it's for their business or for themselves, or maybe they're starting their own business. They're going to quit their job, but you have to plan for that. When I started Astrology Zone, I kept my day job for 6 years until everything, I was the sole support of my children because my husband was always unemployed. Leo's going to love this. They're going to have so many more followers on Instagram and on Twitter and maybe on Discord. Join me there. I'm at Astrology Zone on all of them because there are too many Susan Millers. But their house of friendship is exploding like a volcano. It's just going to be great. Many new friends. And they may volunteer for a charity or a humanitarian effort and make such a difference that they'll want to do more. The next sign is Virgo. Virgo hit the career jackpot. Honors, awards, achievement, fame this fall. Oh my gosh. They love to be productive. And Virgo wakes up in the morning and they say, I have to do this, this, and this. And if they don't get it done by 5 o'clock, they stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning because that's the way Virgo is. They get it done. And their career is really, really going to be great because it's not just a lateral move they'd make. They're going up. They're getting the attention and rewards that have eluded them a little bit this year, but now will be given to them in droves. So that they really have a spectacular career outlook. The Libras will be able to travel long distances, like to Europe or Australia or New York. They will be in airports. But if they don't want to be, or let's say they're home with a newborn baby, international relationships will become more important. They may be working for a company with a headquarters in Paris or Tokyo and on Zoom a lot, but there's this international feel to their work. Also, publishing and broadcasting opportunities, either as the producer who makes the story or the writer who puts it together, or as the subject. Legal matters could come up, but they're favorable because Gemini and Libra are perfect together. They're both air signs. So this is an exciting time. And some of them will be going back to school. And maybe they didn't want to when they had to do remote learning, but now the colleges are letting people back. So that's a possibility and a good one. Scorpio.
Yes.
Last year, Scorpio, you had great love aspects. Oh my gosh. I mean, a lot of Scorpios fell in love last year. This year, lots of work assignments and plum assignments, the best ones, the juicy ones where everybody else says, why does she get all the best ones? Why don't I get those? Well, she worked for it and she earned it. Right. Also, Scorpio may get into health and fitness, go back, start hiking or biking or playing tennis or going to the gym. After almost 3 years of sitting home, I think they're going to feel like they want to get out there again.
Yes.
Well, hiking is nice. To be in the country in the fresh air, or on a bike or on a horse. That sounds good too. Sagittarius, love, love, love. They're going to have what Scorpio had last year. I mean, love is blossoming. It's beautiful. It's everything they wanted it to be. Also, their children are protected. And your child will have very good news if you have a child. Also, my number one question on Astrology Zone, can I have a baby? I've been having trouble with conception. They should go to the doctor. They should get fertility advice. This is the best year in 12 to be able to get pregnant. It's really good. Oh, and Mars will be in their house of partner. So there will be a lot of emphasis on partnership, either getting engaged, married, or doing things together. By the way, Scorpio's got a lot of money dealings coming up, but it could be that you're redoing your will, redoing your mortgage, or looking for venture capital and putting together a business plan, something with money, which is their forte. They're good with that. So or they may be doing some savvy tax planning. There's all kinds of things. It's all money.
Good.
Capricorn is working hard. They are in demand. They don't have to worry about being out of work. They are working hard, and it's all going to add up to a promotion in either April or end of March, I should say. The new moon is at the end of March, or in October of 23. Or it could happen, actually. The Capricorns could get some good news on that gorgeous full moon, October 9th. Now, that's a weekend, but it would happen right before the weekend or right after that week. So Capricorn, if you're working hard on everyday things, thinking, oh, I feel like I'm on a treadmill, don't feel that way. Somebody's noticing the excellence of your work. Aquarius, oh, you have great love aspects too. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. The Aquarians also they're thinking about moving, but it might have to do with the job opportunity, that they don't want to live too far away from the job, or vice versa. They have family to think about and they don't want to be too far away from the family. So family and career are locked together on the eclipses October 25th, November 8th, which is the sticky one. We're all going to clear our calendars, not have too much going on, so that we can address anything that's happening. Pisces, the one sign that doesn't care about money, they're unmaterialistic. They just want to make the world a better place. Will get heaps of money. The Brinks truck is showing up with little wheelbarrows of money, like 10 men bringing the money into the house. I mean, they've never, I don't think they've ever seen a year this lucrative. And everybody wants to pay them and wants to pay them a generous fee. So I know that you are not materialistic, but this is your time to put money away. Even if you don't use it, put it in the bank and be happy it's there if you ever need it, because it's coming to you. And also, there's a lot going on with the home. I don't know if your mom is going to need you, or your sister who just had a newborn baby says, help, I need help. And you say, listen, I'm getting on a plane. I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to help you with the baby. Or it could be that you're renovating your kitchen or your whole house and you've got people running in and out, because Mars usually brings noise. So it could be, the hammering and sawing and so forth. And you'll be able to afford it because you have all this money coming in, Pisces. So if you want to do things to your house or your apartment, your condo, whatever, you can. So you have a lot to look forward to this year. And it's, life is precious. Every day is a gift. So we have to use it.
Absolutely.
Or else the days go through your fingers like water.
I will say that people need to go to astrologyzone.com, and they need to get on their phone. They need to get you need to find every single app that Susan Miller has, because
if you've never seen my site, go on your laptop first so that you can get a broad view. I even have a table of eclipses, what to do, how to deal with eclipses, and it's a good article, how to deal with Mercury retrograde.
It's very comprehensive, Susan. And I know that with each sign, if it takes you 6 or 7 hours to write for each sign, I my goodness. I'm just so happy to see you. And
I'm so happy to see you. I wish you weren't so far away.
I know.
If I could ever get a speaking engagement in Australia, I'd be on the first plane, because I've always wanted to see it.
I've told my wife that I would love to take her to New York, because she's never been there. And
then you have a great dinner waiting, because I know the restaurants here. And I know the best ones.
New York has the best food ever. Thank you again so much. I love and adore you, and you're welcome back.
Love you. Thank you.
Box anytime, folks. We'll make sure that
we won't make it so long next time.
I know, 6 years. That's ridiculous. We'll have links in the show notes. So for those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can click the link. Also, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of those wonderful platforms, we'll have the link to Susan's website, astrologyzone.com.
And I'll put you on my social media and everything. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Girl.
And everybody, my social media is always at Astrology Zone. There are too many Susan Millers in America. My hairdresser says there's 14 in our computers. Okay.
Wow.
Although if you forget Astrology Zone, just put in Susan Miller into Google and I come up first. So
yes, as you should, lady.
Easier. I don't know.
Susan, thank you so much. And I want to thank, of course, you wonderful listener and viewers that are watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us again. If you want more information about this podcast, you can go to outoftheboxwithchristine.com. If you want more information about me, you can go to christineblasdale.com. And as I always say, remember to think outside that dang box. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.